Sophia stretched lazily on her bed, scrolling through her phone. It was February 10th, and her best friend Naomi's message popped up. Biggest Valentine's party happening. You must come. Sophia hesitated. She wasn't a party girl, but Naomi had a way of convincing her. It'll be fun. Trust me, Naomi promised, voice dripping with excitement. The party would be at a luxurious villa outside town. Naomi said the crowd would be selective. Cool people, free drinks, and all the glamour Sophia secretly wished to experience. It felt like a dream. Still, something about it unsettled her. Why was Naomi so insistent? After hours of debating with herself, Sophia agreed. As the days crept closer, Sophia began feeling nervous. What if something goes wrong, she whispered to herself, dismissing the thought almost instantly. By February 14th, Naomi showed up at Sophia's house, grinning widely. Girl, you'll thank me later. Sophia smiled, masking her anxiety. Okay, let's do this. As they hopped into a sleek black car, Sophia's phone buzzed. A cryptic message from an unknown number. Be careful who you trust tonight. The car sped down the highway as music blasted from the speakers. Naomi was laughing and singing along, but Sophia stayed quiet, gripping her phone tightly. The strange message replayed in her head. Be careful who you trust tonight. Who sent this? Sophia wondered. She thought about asking Naomi but decided against it. Maybe it was just a prank. They pulled up at the villa, a grand house glowing with red and white lights. Luxury cars lined the driveway, and beautiful people in designer outfits mingled on the front lawn. The scent of expensive perfume and grilled meat filled the air. This is serious luxury, Sophia whispered, eyes wide. Naomi chuckled. Welcome to the good life. She grabbed Sophia's hand and led her inside. The house was packed. Laughter, loud music, and clinking glasses created a chaotic but exciting atmosphere. For a moment, Sophia let herself relax. This might be fun after all. Then she saw him, a tall, charming guy with piercing eyes. He smiled at her, and her heart skipped a beat. Go talk to him, Naomi nudged. But just as Sophia took a step toward him, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message read, Run. Sophia froze, staring at the word on her phone. Run. Her heart raced as she looked around the crowded room. Everyone seemed to be enjoying the party, oblivious to her rising panic. Naomi noticed her pale face and laughed. Sophia, relax. It's probably some random prank. But Sophia wasn't so sure. I think someone's watching me, she whispered. Naomi rolled her eyes. You're overthinking. Have a drink. She handed Sophia a glass of red punch. Sophia hesitated but took a small sip. The sweetness calmed her nerves for a moment. Maybe she was overreacting. The tall guy from earlier approached her, his smile warm and inviting. Hey, I'm David, he said, his deep voice sending a shiver down her spine. First time here? Sophia nodded, barely able to form a sentence. There was something magnetic yet unsettling about him. Before she could respond, Naomi grabbed her arm. Come with me. I want you to meet someone, she said, dragging Sophia away from David. They moved toward a quieter corner of the villa. Sophia glanced over her shoulder and saw David still watching her. His smile had vanished. Her unease returned in full force. Who did you want me to meet? Sophia asked, her voice trembling slightly. Naomi leaned in closer, her eyes gleaming mischievously. Relax, babe. You're going to have the time of your life tonight. Trust me. But Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The message on her phone haunted her. Who sent it? Why did they tell her to run? Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but Naomi tightened her grip on her arm. Don't ruin the night. Let's go deeper into the party. As they walked toward the back of the house, the lights grew dimmer, the music fainter. Sophia's heart thumped loudly. She stopped in her tracks. I think I need to go home, she said firmly. Naomi's smile faded. Oh no, Sophia, she whispered. It's too late for that. Sophia's blood ran cold at Naomi's words. It's too late for that. What do you mean? Sophia asked, trying to sound calm, but her voice cracked. Naomi's eyes darkened. You're here now, Sophia. Leaving isn't an option. Sophia yanked her arm free and turned to head for the exit, but the hallway seemed longer than before. The flashing red lights made everything feel distorted. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced down and saw another message. Trust no one, not even your friend. Her stomach churned. Not even Naomi? She quickened her pace, but Naomi followed close behind, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Sophia, you're overreacting. Come on, let's go back and have fun. No, I'm leaving, Sophia insisted. She reached the front door, but two men stood there, blocking her path. Their blank expressions sent a chill down her spine. Excuse me, she muttered, trying to push past them. One of the men smirked. Party's not over yet, he said. Panic surged through her. She glanced back at Naomi, who was calmly sipping her drink, watching her struggle with an eerie smile. Sophia realized she was trapped. Sophia's heart pounded in her chest as she backed away from the door. She glanced at the crowd, hoping someone would notice her distress, but no one even looked her way. Naomi strolled toward her, eyes gleaming with an unsettling calm. Come with me, she said, her voice almost soothing. Sophia shook her head. I don't want to be here anymore. Naomi sighed. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Suddenly, two men grabbed Sophia by the arms. She screamed, but the music drowned out her cries. They dragged her through a side door and into a dark hallway. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the floor. Let me go, she yelled, struggling against their grip. The men said nothing as they forced her into a small, dimly lit room and locked the door behind her. The silence was deafening. Sophia pounded on the door. Help! Somebody! Help! Her breathing grew ragged as panic set in. She scanned the room. Bare walls, a single chair, and a flickering light bulb overhead. Then a voice came from the shadows. I warned you not to come. Sophia spun around, her eyes searching the room for the source of the voice. A man stepped out from the shadows. His face was partly hidden by a hood, but his eyes were sharp and intense. Who are you? Sophia whispered. Someone trying to save you, he said, his voice low and urgent. You should have listened to my messages. You sent those? Sophia's mind raced. Why? He stepped closer. This isn't a party, it's a trap. They lure people in, and some never leave. Sophia's knees weakened. What do they want from me? Let's just say you were chosen, the man said cryptically. But there's still time. We need to move fast. Sophia hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. But the alternative, staying in this room, felt worse. How do I know you're not part of this? She asked, her voice trembling. You don't, he said, unlocking the door. But if you stay here, you won't get a second chance. Without waiting for her answer, he slipped into the hallway. Sophia stood frozen for a moment before deciding to follow him. The hallway was eerily quiet. The man moved swiftly, his steps barely making a sound. Sophia struggled to keep up, her heart racing with every step. Where are we going? She whispered. There's a back exit, he replied, glancing over his shoulder, but it's heavily guarded. We'll need a distraction. Sophia's pulse quickened. A distraction? What kind of distraction? He smirked. Leave that to me. They reached a door at the end of the hallway. The man peeked through a crack and nodded. Stay here. Wait for my signal. Sophia pressed herself against the wall, her body trembling. She could hear voices nearby, laughing and talking as if nothing unusual was happening. The man stepped into the main hall, and within seconds, chaos erupted. Loud crashes and shouts filled the air. Now, he shouted. Sophia sprinted down the hallway, her feet barely touching the ground. The exit was just a few steps away when she heard a familiar voice behind her. Sophia, don't leave! It was Naomi. Sophia froze, torn between escape and confronting her so-called best friend. She turned to see Naomi standing at the end of the hallway, her eyes filled with something between anger and desperation. You can't leave, Naomi said, stepping closer. You don't understand what's at stake. You lied to me, Sophia shot back. What kind of friend is that? Naomi sighed, her expression softening. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I tried to protect you. Protect me? Sophia laughed bitterly. By trapping me here? You don't get it, Naomi said urgently. If you leave, they'll come after both of us. This place, it's not what it seems. The man reappeared beside Sophia, his face hard. Don't listen to her. She's one of them. Naomi's eyes flashed with panic. Sophia, please. I did everything for you. I brought you here to save you. Sophia felt the weight of their words crushing her. Who should she trust? The door to the outside was right behind her. Freedom was within reach, but one wrong move could cost her everything. Sophia made her decision in a heartbeat. She turned and bolted toward the exit. "Stop her!" Naomi screamed. Sophia burst through the door into the cold night air, her feet pounding the pavement. Her lungs burned and her heart felt like it would explode. She didn't dare look back. Footsteps thundered behind her, growing louder. The man who had helped her was nowhere in sight. She was on her own now. Sophia spotted an alleyway and ducked into it, pressing herself against the wall, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The footsteps slowed. "Sophia!" Naomi's voice echoed through the alley. "You can't hide forever." Sophia's mind raced. "If they catch me, I'll never escape." A shadow appeared at the entrance of the alley and Sophia's stomach twisted in fear. Naomi stood there, scanning the darkness, her face calm and determined. Sophia's phone buzzed from her pocket. She glanced at the screen. "Look up." Her eyes flicked upward to see a fire escape ladder. Without thinking, she grabbed it and climbed as fast as she could. As she reached the rooftop, she heard Naomi's voice once again, chilling and final. "You can run, but you can't hide." The rooftop stretched endlessly beneath the night sky, offering Sophia a brief moment to breathe. Her heart was racing, and her hands trembled as she crouched behind a vent. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. "Trust only me." Sophia tried to steady her breathing. The man had warned her not to trust anyone. But who was he? Was he really on her side? Or was she falling into another trap? She peeked over the edge of the roof. Naomi and the men were still searching below, their voices echoing in the alley. Sophia had two choices: climb down the fire escape on the other side, or stay hidden until morning. Her phone vibrated again. This time, it was a photo of her standing on the rooftop taken just moments ago. "They know where you are?" Sophia's blood ran cold. How could they be watching her in real time? Her eyes darted around, searching for cameras, but she saw none. Was there someone else on the roof with her? A sound behind her made her spin around. A figure stepped out of the shadows, his face hidden in the darkness. "Time's up, Sophia," the voice said. Sophia's legs felt like lead as she backed away from the figure. "Who are you? What do you want?" she demanded. The man stepped into the moonlight. It was the same stranger who had helped her earlier. "I told you not to trust anyone, yet here you are, caught again." "Are you here to help me or trap me?" Sophia asked, her voice trembling. "That depends," he said, his eyes locked on hers. "Will you finally listen to me?" Sophia's head spun. She had no reason to trust him, but he was her only chance at survival. "Fine. What do I do?" "Follow me," he said, extending a hand. "And don't look back." Sophia hesitated, but the sound of footsteps approaching from the stairwell made her decision for her. She grabbed his hand, and they sprinted across the rooftop. The door burst open behind them, and Naomi's voice rang out. "Sophia, stop this madness!" But Sophia didn't stop. She followed the stranger, her feet barely touching the ground as they leaped from rooftop to rooftop. The city stretched before her, a labyrinth of possibilities and dangers. They finally reached a rooftop with an open door leading into an abandoned building. The stranger guided Sophia inside and locked the door behind them. "We're safe, for now," he said, catching his breath. Sophia leaned against the wall, her chest heaving. "Safe from what? Who are these people?" "They're part of something bigger than you can imagine," he said. "They recruit people. People like you, for reasons you wouldn't believe." "Like me?" Sophia asked, narrowing her eyes. "What do they want from me?" "You're special, Sophia," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You have something they need, something that makes you different." Sophia's heart sank. She didn't understand what he meant, but she knew it couldn't be good. "Then why are you helping me?" she asked. "Because I've been where you are," he said, "and I barely made it out alive." His words sent a chill down her spine. Was this her future if she didn't escape now? "We have to keep moving," he said. "They won't stop until they find you." Sophia followed the stranger through the maze-like corridors of the abandoned building. The air was thick with dust, and every creak of the floorboards made her heart leap. "Where are we going?" Sophia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Out of their reach," the stranger replied. "But we need to stay quiet." Suddenly, footsteps echoed from behind them. Sophia froze. her pulse hammering in her ears. "They're here," the stranger muttered. He pushed open a door, revealing a dark stairwell. "Go down and don't stop until you reach the basement." Sophia nodded and sprinted down the stairs, her feet barely touching the steps. Each level felt darker and colder than the last. Reaching the basement, she paused to catch her breath. It was eerily quiet except for the hum of old machinery. Then she heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps descending the stairs. She backed into the shadows, her eyes scanning for an escape. The door creaked open, and a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. "Sophia!" Naomi's voice echoed again. "You can't hide from me forever." Her heart pounded as she pressed herself against the wall. Would this be the end? Sophia's mind raced as Naomi's footsteps drew closer. She had to think fast. The basement was a dead end, and there was no way out except the stairs. Her eyes landed on an old rusted toolbox. She grabbed a heavy wrench, her fingers tightening around the cold metal. "If I have to fight my way out, I will," she thought. The flashlight beam moved closer. Naomi was just a few steps away. "Sophia, don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said, her tone deceptively sweet. Sophia held her breath, her body tense. As the light swept past her hiding spot, she sprang into action. With all her strength, she swung the wrench at the flashlight, sending it crashing to the ground. Naomi cried out in surprise, stumbling backward. Sophia didn't wait to see what would happen next. She darted past Naomi and bolted up the stairs, her adrenaline surging. The stranger was waiting at the top. "Come on!" he shouted, grabbing her hand. They burst out of the building into the night, the cold air hitting Sophia's face like a slap. She didn't look back. Sophia and the stranger raced through the dark streets, their breath visible in the frigid air. She didn't know where they were going, but she trusted him now. She had no choice. "Where are we headed?" Sophia asked between gasps. "Somewhere they won't find us," the stranger said, his eyes scanning the shadows. "Just a little farther." They rounded a corner and entered a secluded alley. The stranger pulled out a phone and typed something quickly. Moments later, a black van pulled up. "Get in," he said, opening the door. Sophia hesitated. "How do I know I can trust you?" The stranger gave her a steady look. "I saved your life back there. If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have brought you this far." She nodded, her instincts screaming for her to leave the nightmare behind. Climbing into the van, she felt the tension in her chest begin to ease. Just a little. The van sped off, leaving the danger behind. Sophia leaned against the seat, exhaustion overwhelming her. "You're safe now," the stranger assured her. "But you must promise me something. Never speak to Naomi again, no matter what. Some friendships are dangerous." Sophia swallowed hard, memories of her once close bond with Naomi flashing before her eyes. "I understand." The van pulled up at a quiet, distant neighborhood. "This is where we part ways," the stranger said. "Stay hidden for a while. The truth will come out soon enough." As Sophia stepped out, she stood in the silent street, watching the van disappear into the night. Her heart was still racing, but relief started to settle in. She was finally free, or so she thought. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen, expecting another warning, but it was a message from Naomi. "You think it's over? I always finish what I start." Sophia's blood ran cold. Before she could react, headlights lit up the street. Another black car slowly rolled toward her, its windows tinted. The driver's window rolled down just enough for her to see Naomi's chilling smile. "Did you really think you could escape me?" Sophia's breath caught in her throat as the car door opened. It wasn't over. It had only just begun. The moral lesson of this story is to be cautious about who you trust and to think for yourself rather than blindly following others, even if they're friends. It shows that sometimes the allure of excitement, popularity, or the promise of a glamorous life can mask hidden dangers. Trusting your instincts is crucial, and if something feels off, even a single warning message, it might be a sign to step back and reassess the situation.